What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi back to the man, Eric Sheets Haber. We are going to be doing our first NFL show of the year, and we are going to make it a quick one. We're going to do a little speed version. I know you guys liked it last time I tried that out last week, I believe it was. So we're going to go through game by game, but we're going to do it in a very prompt manner, and I'm going to share my screen. Let me just pull it up really quick and get it set up. Sheets, how you doing out there? You ready for this season?
Yeah, we haven't done that many NFL. When we first started doing these was already into December. So I hope to learn. And again, I have two things going on for the NFL. Most people do. I play a couple of million maker lineups. I'm probably going to do a couple of more. And then I'm in this 2+2 contest where I have to put together kind of like a cash-ish type lineup. I hope to play more in the NFL this year. The thing with the NFL, like I said, it's weird. Every time I make a lineup in the NFL, I think I'm going to win. As opposed to baseball, every time I put it to lineup together, I think I have no chance. So, but NFL, like you get your lineups together and you're all good. You're watching Red Zone and somebody scores a touchdown. You're like, who? It's a little annoying sometimes.
I hear you, bro. I hear you there. Well, let's get into it. I mean, this bad is just a sort of a mock build, and it's not even one that I like particularly. I just wanted to sort of get something to start reserving some tournaments and whatnot. But let's clear these out real quick, and then let me just do this. It's a little slow. I hate that it's when it gets a little slow on sometimes with these shares on these things it does that, but so be it. All right, let's get to the first game. We got Chicago, Detroit. I've got my other screen called up on my other page, and I will be adding my ownership percentages when they come in. I have mild interest in this game, and again, I'm going to use the word mild, but I do think you'll see me with 10+%, 10 to 15% of Stafford, and potentially as much as 10% of Trubisky, because I do like these receivers in this game, and we talked about it on the QLTV show. You've got depends on what happens with what's going to happen with Galladay, obviously, but Allen Robinson, Marvin Jones, whatever happens with Galladay will determine a lot of this, and we have Amendola questionable as well. But I like both sides of it. I also like Tariq Cohen quite a bit. I think this game just has a few interesting pieces, and it's a decent total. It's not quite as high as some of the other ones that people are going to really be targeting, but 43 total. I have mild interest here, and it's early still. I'm not decided on everything, but those are just some of the guys I was considering.
If Galladay plays, I like him. I like Allen Robinson regardless, but I like to play guys that with run backs against each other. So I'd love for Galladay to play so that I can play Galladay and Robinson together. I'm not a big. This is Detroit. That's with the Hawkinson, right? I'm not big on him. I know a lot of people like him. I'm just getting to other tight ends. And Tariq Cohen's fine. I was actually going to play him before what's his name was ruled out or whatever, which would have kept him really, really low owned. I don't know if I want to play him as a higher owned guy, but I definitely like a little bit of him. But for me, it's Robinson and Galladay if they both play.
Yeah, I mean, TJ Hawkinson, fine. I have like a tiny bit of interest in him. The way Chicago defended the tight end, and we can guess. I mean, it's a lot of guesswork week one. It's going to be a high variance. Don't use the entire bankroll, but yeah, I can get behind Hawkinson and that too. I also I don't really. I'm not paying for defenses this week. I just don't see myself the pricing is too tight. But the Lions are one that I would consider. I always like playing defenses against Trubisky, so just that's something I consider, even though I like some of the pieces in that game. All right, Miami, New England, very, very different situation than we've had in recent years. We have no Tom Brady, obviously. First off, at quarterback, do you have interest in either of these guys? Because I kind of think that this could be like a little bit sneaky, and maybe they want to show off Cam a little bit.
No, again, as I mentioned, I work backwards. If I don't like the receivers, I'm not going to play the quarterback. I don't think from the quarterback out. So I didn't really have a lot of interest in any. Really, the only interest I had in this game at all were the two defenses.
Okay. Yeah, both defenses I think make sense as well. I mean, you have the absolutely free Dolphin defense and the good, Patriots defense. But again, it's hard to. I'm having a hard time paying up for defenses because the pricing is tight. And I kind of hear you with the receivers. I understand working it that way. I don't think that there's certain quarterbacks you should work it with that way, and Cam is one of them. And I don't know if anybody in the history of DFS football I've played has ever made me more money than Cam. Aaron Rodgers would have won the millionaire that one time, would have probably just just eked him out. But Cam is
Yeah.
a guy because he doesn't need much. And I don't mind I don't mind taking a shot on N'Keal Harry and hoping that you see a turnaround this year. He's another guy who's questionable, but assuming that he does play, I think he's interesting. He's got talent. They don't have good corners. I also don't mind the price on Edelman out of the slot, although, yeah, for me, I would probably lean more Harry just because I'm looking for savings this week. So he's one of my guys who I have on my list for savings that maybe we see a breakout from in year 2. Tom Brady notoriously does not like people. I mean, I guess who does like anyone who you can't trust throwing the ball to? But N'Keal Harry would be the guy I'm most interested in on that side, receiving wise. Edelman's fine. And yeah, that's pretty much what I've got. I actually like Harry, but yeah, it's between those two. And then on the Miami side, I just like Preston Williams. I don't think I'm going to pay $6K for Devontae Parker this week.
Yeah, I mean, just so you guys know, I'm only playing at max 20 lineup, so I'm not going to get to a lot of guys. So if I'm short with these games, just because I'm really just focusing on the guys I'm playing and the guys I like and the guys I'm beating.
Shouldn't you at least like take a stand? Come on, man. You're playing $1 million tournaments here for $5. Let's get it going. Let's max it out.
Isn't 20 max? You play more than that? I didn't know that.
All right. I don't really have an interest in the running games here, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I think that playing like guys like James White, people are going to learn this about Cam. Until Christian McCaffrey came along and they redesigned their offense, this guy did not throw the ball to his running backs hardly ever. But it's strange because he's now in a system where they throw the ball to the running backs all the time. And honestly, like I just couldn't figure out who I would even guess would be getting the work or which work or what for New England. You could always say James White, he's been there, whatever. I just am not touching it personally.
Yeah. Again, I just wasn't getting to any of this.
Yeah. All right. So let's get over to the next one. First thoughts, Philly, Washington. Interest in either quarterback?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, before I forget, if you did want to go kind of a cheap tight end, you could play the Miami tight end. What was his name? Jazicki or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Philly, Washington. I mean, you said it best, man. I mean, Washington stinks, right? And they have a team total of 18, and they have two of the more popular skill receivers on the slate, right? So you have McLaurin, who, look, he had a really good year last year, and he's good, and Haskins certainly is, he improved over the course of the season, and he certainly rates to improve even more. And this rookie is almost minimum cost, right, or minimum cost as a running back on Washington, so he's going to get a lot of ownership, but. I just don't like taking chalk skill receivers like that, especially on a team that's really just hasn't really shown me that much, So I'm probably staying away from it. But you'll see. I mean, you go through the projection systems and whatever. I mean, these guys are going to come up as decent values between, especially Gibson and McLaurin. But I would rather go with lower-owned guys. On the Philly side, interestingly, there was all this worry about whether Miles Sanders is going to play or not. I like him a decent amount, and if he plays, obviously, I want to play him. And hopefully, people stay off him because maybe they think he's a little hurt or something like that. I think that Philly is going to win the game. I think that the whole script sets up decently for him. He'll get his pass catching stuff, but when they're getting the lead, I think he can get some runs to close the game. I happen to like Miles Sanders here a little bit. I didn't get to any of the receivers from Philly or the quarterbacks from either team.
Yeah, I don't mind taking a 4K running back in a cheap thing. So I'll take Antonio Gibson, assuming he really doesn't have anybody to – I mean, you could argue that Peyton Barber will get some work, and you can argue about J.D. McKissick. I think there's actually a chance for J.D. McKissick to get some work, but overall I can get on board with some Antonio Gibson and being with the field or right around there. Same thing with Miles Sanders. I think I'll probably end up, I like him too, but I'm a little bit cautious. I'm always cautious with Philly running backs. And there's a lot of running backs to like this week. So I'm not quite as high on him as I normally would have been. I initially thought, Miles Sanders 6.3, let's go. This is going to be his year. But there's just some other guys that I like. And,
You like Ertz or Goddard?
Always, but I don't know, realistically if I'm going to end up playing them too much. I'm going to play Ertz some for sure. Goddard is the one I'm sort of struggling with because I actually think that there's sort of a part of me that thinks he might be the better play. I actually like Logan Thomas even a little bit on the other side, like a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not getting crazy with it, but I do think he's like one of the guys you can pay down with that tight end that allows you to do other things. So this game sort of naturally builds a mini stack, and I just think what I got to remind myself to do is like that doesn't mean I need to play the quarterbacks. I'm using this as my value, like mini stack. You know what I mean? And I could play Gibson on one side. I could play Miles Sanders on the other. I could play the Deshaun Jackson, which mega chalk, which I'm going to have some of. I'm not going to completely ignore him, and they don't have other receivers and yada, yada, yada and all that. My natural instinct would be to try to find another receiver. I just don't even know who to think at all, like between these three. Maybe Rager because he's the devil we don't know. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to go crazy with this game. I just think that the reason these people are popular is because of the value and the pricing. And McLaurin, I think, is really talented, but I'm probably going to be with the field. This is not a very exciting game for me in that sense. I said all that stuff, and I'm probably going to end up with the field.
Listen, when it comes like Deshaun Jackson, we had this conversation about Tyreek Hill yesterday. I mean, not that they're the same, but like, yeah, Deshaun Jackson can catch like a bunch of 60-yard passes or whatever it is at low ownership and break slates and stuff. But if I'm going to play like a chalky receiver, I'd rather have like some 10 for 60 guy, or whatever, as opposed to like a 5 for 150 guy.
I agree. It is literally like it's the weird opening day thing that he always does, and it's whatever, you know what I mean? And
someone else can win. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, there you go. No, I like what you're saying with this stuff. Well, let's jump over to the next game. This is a game I actually do have a ton of interest in the receivers on both sides, and probably my highest owned receivers as of right now will be coming from this game. And do I need to name them?
Well, when I first looked at the slate, I'm like, I didn't even realize that Stephon Diggs was gone. So I guess that Thielen's going to be 80% owned, and that's the end of that. But it's not that easy, I suppose. So I guess he's not going to be 80% owned. He's going to be like 15% owned, 20% owned. And he looks great, and Devontae Adams looks great. And we talk about concentrated, target shares and stuff like that. I mean, pretty clear that's where both these quarterbacks are going. So play both of them is good. I mentioned earlier that I liked Dalvin Cook on Minnesota's side, and I like Aaron Jones on the Green Bay side. And it's a little scary, because I think this game got me once before where I did all this and it was like a 10-6 game or something like that. But I'll go back to it. I think, like I said, you know where your targets are going. I think you know where the usage is coming from, and I'm in. I'll play these guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much tougher matchup for Aaron Jones than Dalvin Cook, but I do like that he's going to no one's going to play him just the way that other guys are in his price range.
Okay.
So I like him as a pivot off of those guys. I think it's interesting. I totally agree with Dalvin Cook as well. I actually think that maybe because people will go up to McCaffrey or down a little bit, that maybe he ends up a little bit lower owned than he should. But he should. I mean, Green Bay that's how you beat them last year. So some combination of Thielen and Cook. I mean, one of those two guys are going to be in most of my lineups probably. And I'm going to have, my most popular player in this game is going to be Devontae Adams.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. By the way, I do always feel nervous with my highest owned wide receivers being Aaron Rodgers, even though Devontae Adams is a little different than the other guys. It's just always a little bit nerve wracking because he can spread the ball out so well. But all right, so let's get into the other ones. Indy, Jacksonville. You have Indy with like a really high point total for Indy. So what are we going to do with these Indy guys exactly?
Not much. It's tight. T.Y. Hilton's fine, I guess. What's the running back situation? You got the Jonathan Williams and Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have too much with this. I don't want to play this Jacksonville passing game. I hear this is getting a little bit of buzz. They're coming from behind in the game script and the DJ Shark and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I just like things better. I don't know. T.Y. Hilton's fine, I suppose. But I don't know. I feel like I'm copping out or whatever, but I just think it's going to be a real boring, dumb game. It's going to be 21-10 or something like that, or maybe 21-0 even. Indianapolis defense is kind of a lock, right? What are they with 4K? I don't even know what they are. they're only 3K. I mean, I'll take that. I don't know. That's my opinion on this game.
Yeah, I really it's not exciting. I don't really like that side of it, but I do think T.Y. Hilton belongs in the conversation here. Generally, a guy I usually want to target at home, but I could absolutely see him having a game here. But my favorite play is not even close. Is the Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle is like one of my favorite tight ends in the slate. And I agree with you about the defense too. For what that, I like that. This is one of my top defenses as well. But they're just again, I'm mostly spending like all the way down. But this would be one of the ones I think that's probably got some merit to paying for it, along with the sort of like the New England situation. Yeah, it is hard to figure out what you would want on the Jag side of this, but I don't think you necessarily, look, none of these guys are going to be high owned at all. Like, you can take a shot on these receivers, maybe take a shot on Westbrook because he's a little bit cheaper. What I'm confused about is what's happened with Marlon Mack, and what did I miss exactly? I must have missed something.
He did, right? Didn't they say he was like fifth in the depth chart or something?
What exactly happened? Why did that happen? How did that happen? I don't understand it. Whatever. I guess that makes everybody unplayable here, but that's annoying because I would certainly have wanted to play these running backs, and I don't feel comfortable enough with Taylor or Hines, so it's frustrating to me. I don't know what to do. But I guess on that, I'll leave it alone. It's mostly Hilton. And it is a high total. You'd want the running back. You want to look at the running backs in that spot, especially when they're that cheap, but I don't know what the hell they're doing. So I need to learn that one a little bit more. If I can get a clear one on that, I think that might be a good place to spend down.
Okay.
All right, let's move over to Atlanta. I believe it's going to be Atlanta. Yeah, Seattle, Atlanta. All right, so I'm going to just start this off and I'll let you go. I talked about continuity on our other shows. We have a lot of that in this game. We've got a nice high spread. I think we want some pieces here.
I think you want all of it. I mean, I do. I think you want Ryan with Julio and Ridley, and you want Lockett, and then you just hope they're not all highly owned. I mean, I think it's an easy stack. It's easy stack to conceptualize. You got to figure out how to get it in, whatever. But I agree with it. You want this whole game. I mean, I mentioned even Chris Carson on the other side for the running back situation. I don't know who else I'd play on Seattle except for Lockett. I guess the other ones who bet Metcalf will be the chalkier guy, I guess. But I don't know. I like it. I like Julio. I like Ridley. Ridley's going to be probably pretty popular. Ridley's going to be in my cash game, Bill, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll show you that like little when we get close to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this game's great.
Yeah, I'm into this one as well. I'm less into Carson and much more into Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is a strong starter more than he's been a finisher, and it is that tendonitis that he has. And it's poor guy ruined a really tremendous. He could have been one of the top players in football right now. He's like the only running back in recent memory that really had that ability because he dominated the league completely. I think you might see a good first burst out of him. I love him on turf in general. I think this is going to be actually a little bit. It may not be good for his knees in the long run, but I think he can be more explosive. His cutbacks and the way he moves, I just feel like he's going to be able to pick up more steam, and it's a better situation for him. I feel like so at 6.1. If this was the beginning of last year and Gurley was 9.1 against anybody, he would have been the highest owned player. Like he was like 10.5, I think. No, it's a lot's changed, but I'm going to take my shot with Gurley, and I'm not locking him in. I'm talking about a guy I'll play 15 to 20% of, but that's still going to be above what other people are. And I'll play 10% of Chris Carson. I have no problem with that. I'd actually like to do a little bit of it together, maybe even throw in. I don't usually like to pair running backs with receivers in the same game, but I do think this game just offers a lot, and the prices are reasonable. And honestly, I think the ownership is pretty reasonable. Like, I don't think that Ridley and Jones are going to be like 20%. They're going to be in the 10, 15 range maybe. And same thing with Lockett and Metcalf. And I like those guys too. So if there's one spot to get ahead of everything, this is it for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, I was going to say, it's so funny. You'll appreciate this. So I was going to say, oh, there goes Bobby talking about Gurley. He always plays Gurley, whatever it is, freaking Ram guy, whatever it is. But it's not exactly like that, because I remember last year you were I would say stubborn, but you kept on saying, listen, I don't know what's going on, but David Johnson will break out one of these days, and he just didn't. But freaking did it the other day, man. He might be back.
David Johnson was on 2 millionaire maker lineups last year.
Yeah, but he might be back now.
well, I mean, I told you this year. I said before this year, I didn't play any. I don't do season-long DFS, and or season-long fantasy, and everybody's like, yeah, David Johnson at best like fourth, fifth round. I'm like, this guy is going to be like a top 4 running back this year. Like, there's no question. They're going to give him I mean, when the coach is using his running back to justify his job, we saw what happened a few years ago with Ware in Dallas. Like, it's just an automatic. He's a gold mine. I wish he was on this main slate because he would have been a guy I would have gone after. All right, ready to move. Okay, so ready to move on to Cleveland, Baltimore, because this is an interesting.
Baltimore, Cleveland has 2 of my cash game guys in it.
Be careful with one of them because it sort of goes against everything you just said before. I know what you're going to say too, or maybe not. Maybe I don't.
Okay.
Lamar is one of them.
It's Lamar Jackson.
Oh, and you're going to say the tight end now. I thought you were going to say.
No.
Oh, then I can tell you right now that I can come right back at you with an argument, because how are you going to tell me all that stuff about Deshaun Jackson, and then you've got a guy in a much worse situation, much worse in the sense that they actually have other players. They don't need to throw the ball at all. He had absolutely no reliability whatsoever in terms of usage, not even close to what Deshaun Jackson had, which was also really low. If you're going to talk about both these guys in terms from a cash standpoint, I actually think Deshaun Jackson's the better cash game play. And I have a note here, like, just be careful. Like, I want to stack. So Sheets, I had one of my biggest weeks last year was this game. And then one mistake I had made, unfortunately, was that I had Marquise Brown in that lineup. I had the running back. I had Nick Chubb, who was at 3%, who put up like 5,000 points that day. He was the leading scorer of all fantasy players. It was incredible. And Marquise Brown didn't do anything. I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying he's also going to get the tough matchup the whole time. But this is not like a team without a secondary. And for him to be this kind, to be the highest owned receiver, one of them, like.
Oh, I'm not playing him in my GPPs.
Okay. All right.
I'm not playing him at all in my GPPs.
Oh yeah, we're talking about cash. Yeah, but still the cash though. The same argument.
So here's the thing. So I was, and it's, you know what, I might change it to D Jackson. I had this one slot left, right? And the way that my structure, this 2+2 thing is yeah, it's kind of a cashy thing, but they also pay you for winning the week outright. So I figured a little bit of correlation with Jackson, with Lamar, made a little more sense. So this is really my one decision of whether it's Marquise Brown or Deshaun Jackson. But what that'll do, by the way, I'll show you later, is that if I save a little money, like Deshaun Jackson's less than Marquise Brown, right?
Yeah.
So if I save the 200 there, then I can move up and get the Patriots at defense. So I think I might end up changing to D-Jax. Like right now it's Marquise Brown, but I'm definitely interested in swapping that.
Yeah. Look, this is one of the only. I don't like being below the field on guys who I love and who have upside, but I think that's where I have to go in tournament. I have to do that in tournaments. I also think Marquise Brown overall this year is going to have a standout year. So I'm on his side, and he probably will have a good game here. I just can't do it at that ownership. And I am only playing the tournament. So look, Lamar Jackson is an awesome play. I don't even mind being overhead of the field because I don't think it's going to matter. And I actually don't even mind playing him alone or with. The problem is if you have to use the chalky guys to play with him. I personally think the better play with him is probably Mark Andrews. The way that Cleveland defends the tight end position in general, it has for years. I know that it's supposed to be all different and all this stuff. They haven't had a training camp or whatever. I'm going to bet on them reverting back to that. And I think that Mark Andrews is, without a question to me, going to be the highest scoring tight end this week. I really think that's like hard to me imagine him not being. But,
I like him a lot actually in GP. I like Mark Andrews actually.
And he's not going to get much ownership because everybody needs a place to save, and they're going to look at tight end. So it is an interesting pairing with Lamar in that sense. Are you like, what are we doing with this other side of it? I'm sort of like, I think that we kind of have to just play Odell Beckham. This is ridiculous.
No.
I know, but we have to play some of it. We can't avoid it entirely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm certainly going to be well ahead of the 5% ownership at a guy who would have been 8.9K and would have had all, like, I don't know. Do we really? So if they're saying that, why don't they think Baker sucks more than he does? Which he does suck, but I expect him to have a better year this year because he's got talent all around him. I'm sorry. I think I might have to play like a lot of Odell Beckham. I don't know what to say. He's just the most talented guy you're ever going to get it. We mentioned the other guys at 5.8 and 5.9. Like you mentioned the thing about Hopkins. The thing about Hopkins that he doesn't do is he's not a game breaker. Odell Beckham has that, and he's a game breaker.
Yeah.
So I'm into him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm trying to think of whether I'd rather play the Colts defense or the Ravens defense.
I would rather play the Colts defense personally.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it's a good question. I don't trust Baker. I love playing defense against Baker, so it's hard to know. I also don't mind, a little bit, like if you wanted to throw Baker into like one thing. He did have a good game here last year. He's cheap, whatever. But I'm not like excited. I really just like the Beckham side of it. And yeah, ready to move on?
Yep.
All right, we are. And by the way, my screen share is doing nothing because I'm actually looking at my other screen for all my information to give you guys. So sorry about that, but that's where I'm at. All right, this is an interesting spot here. We have the Jets at Bills here. This was an interesting game one last year. I remember that I think Buffalo went crazy. It must have been game one. Maybe it was game two. No, it was game one. I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I think a little bit of I have to sort of stay on brand of what everything I did last year, right? So don't I sort of need Josh Allen to be like one of my plays, and I sort of need to take him with one of the home run hitting wide receivers?
Yes.
No?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I just like the other teams better, but Buffalo, New Jets, I don't know. My only interest in this game, honestly, is dumbass cheap chalk Chris Herndon in my cash game. I mean, like that's really the only thing I ended up getting to.
Sadly, I agree with you on the Herndon part.
What's that?
Sadly, I'm with you on Herndon. I have a
yeah. That's where I'm at in this game. I see Buffalo. I see a cloud and rain. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm just not interested.
So do we think that like, are we crazy? I think we're crazy, to be honest, for not playing Le'Veon Bell here.
Yeah.
So first of all, you know how Le'Veon Bell was last year? By the way, also another guy who was on multiple. He was on Head Chopper's millionaire lineup week one, by the way, in this matchup. The usage is going to be through the roof as far as I can imagine. I don't see why they wouldn't go that route in every which way. I think he's going to be used a ton. I don't think there'll be any ownership on him. I don't think he even needs to get in the end zone to get you there. I just think you're going to see plenty of usage and you're going to have literally zero ownership. Why? The guy is going to have plenty of usage. He's 5.6K. You could say, save me at running back. Let's play a little bit. Why not?
Okay.
All right. Sorry. Not as into it as I was. Again, these are all little bit guys. The big guys are like Devontae Adams, Thielen, Cook is one of my guys. I do think that I actually will make a huge stand on Le'Veon Bell. Like I'm really considering it. Like 5 points, I just can't get over it. Like the usage, especially if it's rainy and the weather's bad, even against a good defense. So what? I'm into it. So I've talked myself into it even more. All right. Next game, we have the Las Vegas Raiders and Carolina Panthers. And this is interesting, man. You don't like the run. You said you didn't like Jacobs too much. I get maybe the ownership is why. I find myself wanting to be ahead on Jacobs and McCaffrey. If you're playing cash games, I think is automatic. So are you going to play him in your cash game?
Yeah, he's in my cash game, and I'm not going to play him in GPPs. I just can't. I can't get to him.
It's hard.
Yeah, so I'm playing him in my cash game, and on the Vegas side, Jacobs is fine, but the other guy I like over there. Listen, I'll tell you what I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play the freaking Harry Higgs or whatever the hell his name is. I'm just not going to do it. But I might be interested in a kind of lower, if he's lower owned, maybe the tight end, maybe Waller. That's where I'm interested from the Vegas side is Darren Waller. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's funny because this is a game I wanted to be my game. I feel like there's going to be some scoring. I feel like there's going to be stuff. But then you look at it, well, McCaffrey's going to get a lot of this stuff. I do want to say, if you're going to look at warning signs for McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater, I know he did more with New Orleans, but Kamara's numbers were actually down when he was there. He's not a guy who naturally dumps it off to the running back as much as other quarterbacks do. Now, obviously, McCaffrey's a different type of running back and will still get tons of usage. But if you're looking for a reason to fade a popular guy who costs $5 million, that's the reason. You know what I mean? That's the argument. Right. Now, neither was Cam either until McCaffrey played there. But even after Cam left, McCaffrey was a whole different beast. So maybe you could use that as a way to go. I do think these are two of the most popular running backs, and for good reason. I like both of them a lot. I unlike you, I do actually like Henry Ruggs, but not like crazy. I actually think the savvy play might be look, I'm on this continuity kick, and even though it's a different quarterback and a different coach, I'm still like can't get it out of my head for some reason. So I still think Curtis Samuels has upside. DJ Moore is too expensive, and I don't think I can get there. But I really like DJ Moore as a wide receiver. Another guy who won me a ton of money last year. So I can't, and the Robbie Anderson thing is always, it seems like the kind of matchup where it actually could be good for him, but there's a lot of, I don't want to get too many cooks in the kitchen. There's a lot of different guys it could go to. I'm siding sort of with Samuel on the Carolina side and Ruggs on the Las Vegas side. I'm interested to see this Vegas team. I actually think maybe I'll get more Ruggs by the end of the week because they're going to throw the ball. Anyway, we'll see. But yeah, the running back's definitely the main part. All right, let's move it over. Sorry, it took a little longer than I should have on that one. Chargers at Bengals here. It's a 43 total. I'm having trouble with this game because I'm confused by the totals, and I actually was confused by the ownerships not being higher. I think Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler are the better plays. So Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs feels like a very nice. I feel really good about my running backs and my flex, on the McCaffrey skipping lineup, right? So these are my other guys who I like the most. I know I've mentioned other guys that you can use Gibson at 4K. But these are the guys who I expect to you can. I think you're going to get 20 fantasy-ish points out of them. Like I feel pretty good about it. And
I agree with both those guys. I agree with Eckler and Mixon, a really low-owned alternative also. And I could see people arguing for the being ahead of the Joe Burrow breakout game and playing him with his weapons. I see it because you can also get Keenan Allen on I keep saying the Clippers on the Chargers. I'm just not going to get there, but I'm pretty sure that if I played a bunch of lineups, I would throw one in, just a couple just in case. The one play that I'm playing this game, probably in some GPPs, just for crap's sake, is I might play some Hunter Henry at tight end from the Chargers. In addition to the guys I mentioned, obviously Eckler is probably my favorite play in this game, but.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really sharp on Hunter Henry, by the way. First of all, Cincinnati, you've got just crushed by tight ends. You've got Hunter Henry. The problem is the numbers don't even show out as much because nobody threw the ball in them in the second half because they were But Hunter Henry, no one's paying up at tight end. And all of these guys, that's just an automatic difference you can do than everybody else. And Hunter Henry could easily be the highest scoring tight end. I know I said Mark Andrews will be, but Hunter Henry would be the guy I'd consider right behind him. Him and potentially Ertz or Goddard. Actually, both those guys actually stand out to me. This is a weird situation from the receiving standpoint because I really want, I feel the same way about AJ Green that I do about the other guys we mentioned. And they're all these 5.8, 5.7, 5.9K guys. And AJ Green is one of the best receivers in football. Nothing's changed except for he got hurt. He didn't play. Now they have another good receiver now in Tyler Boyd. But are we just supposed to assume that all of a sudden AJ Green can't run a route or catch a football anymore? And now you could argue that he finally has a good quarterback to throw him the ball? Maybe AJ Green is the guy we prioritize. So maybe I'm glad we did this show together. I know we have to run out soon, but I really have figured out sort of my overall strategy. I can play these middling receivers that are superstars, and I can use, I can balance it nice enough with those running backs in that 6 to 7K range and maybe pop in one value play and maybe get a tight end that I can pay up for. I think that's a good way to go this week. That's going to be different.
Yeah.
But there's not really a game that screams game stack, is there? We mentioned the one kind of. But
I really like the Atlanta-Seattle game.
Me too, but I didn't find myself going crazy with the quarterbacks, partly because I like the running backs.
Okay.
And the one that I think people will get onto, and I actually was surprised that the total wasn't higher, was, well, I guess maybe they won't because the prices are impossible. But it's this next game, this Tampa Bay New Orleans game.
Yeah, I can't get to Michael Thomas, who's probably the best play. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't get to him in cash. I can't get to him in GPPs. I just can't get to him. On Kamara's a good play. Although Tampa, it's kind of weird. We could talk about this for half an hour. Tampa on the one hand, they had kind of good stats against the run, But I don't know if that's going to apply to like if Kamara just suddenly
Did
goes
they have like 5 losses on like 20-point comebacks where teams, of course, were throwing the ball on them all night? Like, remember the Daniel Jones game? The Daniel Jones breakout game was against them.
Yeah.
So
I think Kamara's fine. And on the Tampa side, as I mentioned before, I mean, I don't know. Let's freaking take Tom Brady. Let's take freaking Chris Godwin. And if God forbid Evans plays, play them both. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Well, Brady's the type. He's not going to sling. He's going to share it. I mean, we had this conversation during quarantine. You don't remember this in March when we had nothing else to talk about when Brady was announced, and we said, what are your thoughts on this? I'm like, dude, I think that Brady was restrained in freaking New England. I think that Tampa, if they give him a freaking say, hey, you want to sling the ball down the field, sling the ball down the field. I think he's going to freaking hail it to these guys. I don't know. I think Tampa, I think they're going to have a really good year.
I think they'll have a solid year as well. I didn't say that I don't agree with that. I just don't know that I mean, arm strength, maybe for somebody it can. I guess it's him, but like, if Evans is out, then you can consider the Scotty Miller, Justin Watson thing. I'm not going to do it, but you can do it.
I don't even know who those guys are. I would hope Evans plays. I'll just play Evans and Godwin.
I'll play some of Edwins and Godwin. I again, with my build, I do like Kamara too here. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of weapons on this team. And I like Gronk a little bit as another potential. Like, I don't like him for the getting, 9 catches for 100 yards, but I could see, 7 for 50 and 2 touchdowns.
What's he, 4K?
4.9.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the other guys are a little bit better for sure. I mean, it's for upside, but I definitely have a tiny bit of interest in them. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I certainly understand the arguments for that. I think Godwin is what I would side with in this game, especially for a hobbled Evans. So I'll be over the field on him, but I don't know that I'm going to have as much interest maybe as you do. I'm making my stand a little bit with those other guys who I think are better receivers in better spots and they're cheaper.
So San Francisco, so Arizona gave up all these points.
I just want to say one thing. I love Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think he's had a competent passing attack that he's played with in like a million years. Not to mention that we are, whatever the word is that you do these days, that we used to make be our ongoing joke on our show every week on Roto Grinders about we're Eskimo brothers. I could say it on the show. It's he is a really like off the board. Like I just could see having a big game. Like I'm curious to see how he does in a competent offense. Basically, I think that there's upside for him here.
All right, last game.
Yep.
So Arizona apparently gives up a zillion points to the tight end all the time, and George Kittle's probably the greatest tight end in history, and I'm not playing him. I don't know what I'm doing, but he's 7,200. He's just too expensive for me to get in other guys that I want, so he's probably going to score the most points, but I'm just not going to play him. I mentioned this earlier on the Arizona side. I have no problem taking a shot. Yep. With DeAndre Hopkins against a really tough matchup. I mean, look, what he makes up for in lack of matchup is he makes up for in freaking in game script. They're probably going to be behind, so whatever.
I agree.
And yeah, I know it's a different system, whatever it is, but I don't know. If he's 5% owned, he's probably I could argue the best wide receiver in football. I mean, whatever. I'll take a shot. I know San Francisco's they're great and all that stuff, but that's really the only interest. I didn't really have any interest in the San Francisco skill guys. I didn't have interest in Kenyon Drake, but I would take a shot at Hopkins.
So my other weird off the board play, I like Hopkins too, fine, but I like Larry Fitzgerald, and I've lost my mind.
There it is.
First week continuity. You got a receiver that's going to draw a ton of attention in Hopkins and double teams and all that. And you've got Fitzgerald running him out of the just running those little 9-yard slants all night long. You could have like 10 catches. This happened last year a bunch of times with them, and they didn't have that threat that Hopkins is. So maybe that's what ends up happening here. And Fitzgerald is way off the board, and people can say how spendy. This is the same thing happened last year, though. And then you see him; he puts up these big games, especially early in the year. So Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk has the speed to outrun anybody. So if you're going to see a lot of attention on Hopkins, I think that you can take a shot with those guys. It's too early, but I'll just say one day this year, Andy Isabella is going to win someone a tournament. I don't know when that's going to be, but he's going to catch 2 balls for 80 yards each and win someone a tournament. I'm telling you, or 75 yards each now.
Probably a showdown sleeve.
Yeah, probably. I'll use him. Yeah, it'll be a show, but that would be great because if I play him and he's on a showdown slate, man, what then you're talking. Yeah, I don't really see any reason to get too involved in the passing game. I mean, if you want to call it that, like I honestly don't even understand who these receivers even are. I know their names. That's it. I'm not going to play the Niners receivers. I think I'm going to play a tiny bit of Mostert, but again, it's just going back to the old thing, old coach, everything. And I used it to my advantage a few times last year, not quite as much as I hoped it would go. I think you can make a little bit like maybe Tevin Coleman gets a little more work than people think.
All right. I guess we can get out of here.
We can get out of here, guys. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in with us, everybody. I really enjoyed this. We've had a long day. We've got a lot of shows. Sheets, thanks for being patient.
Yeah. First of all, I want to share some tilt before we leave. So you never open up your big mouth in freaking golf. All right. All I needed was freaking chalky Cameron Tringali to have a reasonable round and just slip into the cut. And he's going to have to scramble on the back 9 to probably go 2 under, 3 under just to make it. I am going to be so freaking tilted. But anyway, hope you guys win the Millie Maker in the football. And that's it.
He'll make it. All right, guys. Good luck out there. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboard this weekend.